I'm Chris Gardner of Houston Roundbar Review, speaking with Donna Finney, head coach of Houston Baptist University women's basketball. Coach, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you very much. Let's talk about the just completed season. You guys won the Southland Conference regular season championship. Let's go with the good news first. Describe how the season went. Anything surprise you, disappoint you, anything like that?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of ups and downs this season. It definitely wasn't a smooth sailing path for us, but I felt like our non-conference season was really inconsistent, and part of that was because we had a lot of injuries in the non-conference, and we're missing some key players. We couldn't really get into a rhythm at all, and then, like a lot of teams, we got hit by a COVID break, kind of right in the middle of things as we were going into conference play. And we had almost a month where we didn't play a game. So we opened conference play not looking the way that I had hoped we would. And, we dropped a game early on in conference play and, didn't really find our rhythm, probably later than I had expected. But then, went on a little run towards the end of the year where I felt like we started looking more like what I'd expected. Particularly defensively, and obviously managed to put a 7-game run together towards the end of conference and finish off with winning the regular season here at home, which was great to do that in our own gym. But I think overall, as a coach, you're always going to look at things that you have to do better, and particularly on the offensive end, we've got to do a lot better going forward next year, and then also rebounding. I felt like those were the two areas that let us down and probably were the reason we dropped the 2 games we did in conference. But also some of our non-conference games that were a little bit closer came down to rebounding and offensive execution as well.
Well, let's get into the not so good news. After winning the regular season championship, have the number 1 seed in the conference tournament, double bye, 2 wins away from reaching the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
You touched on offensive problems, and the offense just seemed like no shots would fall in a semifinal matchup, and you guys could not get the win.
I think that, and then you're also meeting a team who are hot, and we have been in those shoes. The Incarnate Word had played 2 games. We're shooting the ball really well, playing with a lot of confidence, and we come in and can't hit shots. And it was a low-scoring game, and it just, I thought we were going to be able to get it done on the defensive end. And we've said all year, it doesn't matter what it looks like. We just got to find a way to win. And we weren't able to do that. That was our worst game of the season and really terrible timing for it to happen. But, big reason why we had struggled in other games. And, I felt like a lot of the shots we took were good shots and they just didn't fall. And it happens, and it's interesting watching the NCAA tournament as it progressed. I saw it happen with other teams too that, just had really bad shooting games that you would have thought they would have won the games they were playing. But it's, it's part of the game, and it's something that we need to really look at going forward so that we don't have that same thing happen again next year.
What was your message to the team after that loss?
That it doesn't define our season. That is one game, and they should be proud of what they did achieve during the season, and that we're going to be looking forward, and that we still had a game to play. I mean, I knew going into the locker room after that game that we were going to play postseason, and for our kids, to do that for the first time, it was really exciting. As a coach, it didn't feel final because we knew that the following week would be going somewhere. So it was an immediate pick them up, like, hey, we have a game to play next week. Don't hang your heads. We got to get ready because we've got a really exciting opportunity ahead of us. And I think, the WNIT was exactly what we needed at that time.
What will you and your staff do to improve the offense for next season?
Yeah, I mean, like we've got a lot of film to watch. I think there's a lot of little things that we can work on. Passing angles I've been talking about now for the last couple of years, but I think passing angles, post entries, like I don't think we're scoring enough in the post, and that's something that we have talked about this last year a lot. Who do we actually want catching the ball as well? I think that's going to the right people and knowing where we can get instant scores from. So we've got a lot of film to watch before we kind of start mapping that out for next year. And, this off season, we're really focusing on individual development, and we're not doing any teamwork. It's all individual. So we've met with all the players individually, and they each have 3 things that they're focusing on in this off season of 4 or 5 weeks work that they have. But come the summer, that's when we'll start to kind of ramp up for what we need to do with them in order to make our team offense better than it was this year.
And when you talk about individuals, that is, as it sounds, it's up to the players to take care of those 3 things that you and the staff want them to work on, right?
Yeah, so we meet with them, obviously, and we've had those meetings with all of them. And there's a graphic on the inside of their locker door. So every day when they open their locker to come into workouts, they see those 3 things. And it's a reminder of, these are the 3 things that I need to do every day in practice to make sure that I'm improving to help my team. And I think they each have different focuses, and it's on them to really take those forward and go into the new season so that come preseason, they're better at those 3 things than they were, this year. So it's something we'll review with them in the summer, and hopefully we can tick some boxes where they have done a better job with those things.
How much will the roster turnover from this season that just finished to the fall?
So yeah, it's a really interesting group that we've got, because we actually didn't have any true seniors playing out there. So technically everybody could have returned. We actually have got 1 player that's in the transfer portal right now, which was disappointing. We want her to stay here, but again, these are the times we live in, and we're going to support her as she looks for a new program. But and then 1 player who's going to return back home overseas. So but we return in terms of offensive efficiency. We return all of our offense. So and return all of our all-conference players that we had this year.
And I saw not too long ago you're adding another sister to the squad. So just touch on that.
Yeah, the longer you work in this game, and the more that you're around, the recruiting process, leadership and work ethic becomes so important. And I was joking with the McGuire's parents last week and said, could you not pop another couple out for me, because this is the last one, and where am I going to get my next one from? These girls they all have, and Erin has it in abundance, but great communication skills, tremendous work ethic in whatever aspect it is, great team players, really build their teammates up, and it's interesting. All 3 are different, and Erin is very different than Anya and Anna. And Anya is more of a true point guard, but Erin, she likes to attack the rim a lot more. I'd say she's probably the toughest of the 3 of them. Will take charges, dive on the floor, or she's kind of a scrappy, tough guard who I think will really help us. And but it goes beyond that, and those intangibles of leadership and the way she communicates and the way that she puts in 100% each day. Those kids are so rare now, and it was a no-brainer for me that when she was looking for a school, that she'd be a great fit here for us.
Now, Erin is the youngest of the sisters.
Yeah,
I'm sure she had to deal with a lot with older sisters growing up. Is she? Can you? And this is hard to say and judge, but can you kind of get a sense that she may be the best of the sisters at something? Be more aggressive.
Yeah,
a better shooter, a better leader, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think she is the toughest of the 3 physically. And they're each good at different things. I think that's what makes them so interesting. And it's a shame that the 3 of them couldn't play together, because Anna has now graduated. But I think Erin is like I say, she's tough. I think she gets to the rim better than the other 2, no doubt. That's definitely more, and she can still shoot it, but I'd say Anya's a much better perimeter shooter than Erin is, for sure.
What is the recruiting planned for the summer, off-season summer?
Yeah, so we're really kind of focusing on high school kids, going forward, and that's always been kind of the way that we've done things. But we're going to be out in May, and we'll be out in Texas in May, and then in the summer we'll be at all the Texas events, and then potentially a couple of other out-of-state events as well. But we are going to continue to recruit high school kids. I like to get kids here for 4 years. And I know that times are changing and that's not always the case everywhere. But being the type of school that we are and the focus that we have on academics, it really helps both the player as a student and as an athlete to be here and stay here for 4 years. And that's always our goal. And I know it's the same with a lot of schools. But we really, truly want to get kids here who are going to be here for 4 years.
Have you received a bump of interest from high school kids because of winning the conference regular season championship?
Yeah, I'd say we've definitely had more calls and emails, etc. Since that, and it's been interesting because obviously the portal has changed times with recruiting for sure. But like our big thing is relationships, and I'm not going to say we haven't talked to anyone in the portal, but if we have previously recruited someone and we know that person and we've spent a lot of time with them, we're more likely to reach out to someone in the portal if it's someone that we know. But we really want to build relationships before kids get here so that we know them, they know us, and when they do get here, they feel they're part of our family. And that's why it's hard. Like, I can't blame anyone for what goes on with the portal. It's a unique situation and it's changing all the time. It's not on a coach most of the time. It's not on a player. It's freedom of choice. And I think, but we want our kids to be happy here. And so we need to find the right fit for us, the player and the student that we know will excel here at HBU. And that's what we try and do through the recruiting process.
And regarding your one player who's currently in the portal, does she have a deadline in your mind, like to make a decision where she's going to come back to HBU or not?
No.
Okay, I'm going to shift gears and kind of put you on the spot.
Okay.
Because you are I think I've told you this before.
The only
one, the only coach who seems to be in favor of, the only coach that I've talked to, the only coach that I've talked to, who's in favor of having both the men's and women's Final Fours in the same city.
Yeah.
Give me your rationale for that on the record, Coach Donna Finney.
It's never been done. And I'm all about making changes to see if we can improve our game. And we have talked a lot over the last few years about wanting to get the same as what the men have. And it's always, the women should get the same as the men and all this stuff. And there's been some really good steps forward in that regard. But I think that, the Final Four is the Final Four. There's excitement on both the men's and the women's side. And we don't share enough in our game. And I say that even as women's basketball coaches. I think the WBCA have done a really good job recently of setting up mentoring groups and, different areas where we can share across our game, but we don't do it enough. And why can't we share with men's basketball coaches? There's this definite kind of divide between men's and women's basketball. And at the end of the day, there's so many people now who sit and watch the men's Final Four and the women's Final Four. And so for me, why not? Why not have this celebration of basketball, not men's basketball or women's basketball, but basketball? If you look at other countries, men's and women's championships are run in the same weekend in the same venue. And they don't separate. It's national finals and they're all played in the same place. And so maybe it's my upbringing and maybe it's because I've grown up that way, where it doesn't matter which gender you are, you're playing your national finals in the same place. But I think for me, it's a natural step forward to see if we truly want to grow the game, then why not? Why not put everything together and have a celebration of our sport and stop dividing it between men and women.
Now, how would you, in your mind, schedule the games? Would they be all semifinals on the same day? Would you have women first, straddle it, mix it up, one semifinal women, then followed by the men? Have you thought about that much?
No, now you're definitely putting me on the spot. No, I haven't. But, like, I think, the cities that host these events, the economic impact for these cities is fantastic. And I think, there's been talk about, well, if we did, put the events together, then we're not going to hit as many cities and not going to. But the reality is then it moves around the country more. There's been a lot of criticism about where the Final Four is. There's a lot of repeat cities that are getting to host. If we brought the events together, perhaps there would be opportunities for other cities to host both. But yeah, I mean, I think the format's great right now where we play, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I haven't thought about it in detail, but I definitely like the idea of seeing everybody play in the same venue for sure.
How's it done overseas? Is it just women on one day and men the next? Is that how it's done?
No, like, so they actually play, like, so the women usually play before the men's final. So they're back to back effectively. So it's like a double header. Typically in a lot of countries it's age groups. So, your under 16 national final will be at a certain time, under 18, and then your senior or pro finals are back to back. So I mean, I think there's lots of options. I just, I see it as basketball. And I think that our argument is always to get what the men get. So, what better than playing in the same venue on the same weekend? So that's maybe different from what other people think, but I guess, again, it goes back to maybe where I grew up.
Do you think the city of Houston could do that?
I do. I think it'd be a great venue for hosting both events. And like I say, the sharing part for me is huge because there isn't enough conversation in my mind between male and female staffs. And I hear so many coaching friends of mine saying, well, I don't get on with our men's staff and we're always butting heads and blah, 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 blah. Why? Like, why is that the case? I think we have to stop seeing it as separate. It's always men's this and women's this. And the more that we come together, hopefully we can kind of alleviate some of those differences and progress the game, which is what our focus should be.
What are your thoughts on the Southland Conference for women's basketball for this coming season?
It's going to be a different look in the conference, obviously, because, we've lost another team, and we're bringing in A&M Commerce, who have been a powerhouse in Division 2. And so, bringing in a really strong program, well coached, and with a really good roster. So I expect them to come in and make some noise very early on. And like I told our girls, now we're being chased and we haven't been in that position. So, everything we do from here on is to make sure that we get better. We can't just do the same thing we did this year because there's a lot of rosters that have added talent and some that return everybody like we do. So, I think we've got to really just focus on getting better going into the Southland Conference season because we know we're going to be challenged from the start.
And when does the tournament move to Louisiana?
This year, yeah.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on that?
You said you weren't going to put me on the spot.
Well, things are popping in my head as we talk.
I see. Personally, not anything against McNeese. I don't like the on-campus format for it. I think you play on these campuses throughout the regular season. You want to kind of make it a bit special for your conference tournament. And I like the idea of a neutral venue, but I don't have that decision. So,
yeah. How has the social media part of HBU, like for the team being on, I think the Husky Sports Network sometimes, I think ESPN Plus some games, has that been a benefit? What are your thoughts on the overall platform?
Yeah, I mean, I love that, we've now got ESPN Plus here, and that we can stream those games. The only problem for us is half our roster is international, and they can't access ESPN Plus overseas. It's been a problem for several years now that I've brought up through our conference meetings, that when it comes to conference championships, parents overseas cannot access watching their kids play, and they can't watch it on CBS Sports either for the final game. So, I mean, it's tough because not every roster is as heavily international as we are, but we're now seeing in our conference that teams like Corpus and McNeese, and they have multiple international players on their rosters too. So I'm hopeful that at some point we'll offer an alternative so that parents can watch their kids play online from regardless of where they're sat watching it.
Yeah. What is your roster breakdown in terms of international players and American players?
It's split 50-50. So we just signed 2 more internationals, but the 2 kids that were on our roster that were true seniors were international that didn't play this year. So we're basically pretty much going to be in the same position, almost 50-50. And we have kids. Yeah.
The McGuire sisters are from Ireland?
Ireland, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we just signed another girl from Luxembourg. So that we'll have 2 from there. And then our Australian contingent as well. So, and I think, like I say, our big thing is trying to find the right fit, because we do want people to be here for their 4 years. So I think that's been really important for us. And through the recruiting process also, like just understanding players that are going to fit what we do. And so when you get a kid from a program and it works, and she can come in and already have some of the things already in her wheelhouse, then it really helps us with their development and how quickly we can get them prepared to play for us. So with Luxembourg, Julia Vjakovic, who's all conference player for us, she came from the same program that we've just signed another kid from. And that, I think Joe is going to be very similar to Julia and give us a lot of the same things. And so when it works, you just keep going back to it, I guess. But we know it works, so it's been a really good kind of pipeline for us.
I was supposed to ask you this. How has my mentee Tamer Knight done, in your opinion?
Tamer's just full of energy, and I think what I love, and I touched on this, like I'm all about change. Like I think she's come with some really good ideas this year. I think it's hard because sometimes you have a lot of ideas and you don't always get the nod to push them forward. But I love that she brings a lot of fresh things and ideas. And I think, she's been a really good addition for us on that side of things this year, for sure.
We're almost done, Coach Donna Finney. What are your, how's the non-conference schedule looking for you? Are you finished?
Pretty much, yeah. So we're actually just waiting right now to find out, 1, when we start conference play, and 2, if there's going to be any more changes to our conference. And so I don't think we're going to truly know that, it sounds like, until June 1st,
Okay.
which is it's tough because we may have to add more games, and we can't do that right now. So it's kind of putting everything, and there's been some teams locally that I'd like to add to the schedule, but I can't add to the schedule right now because we don't know if we're able to take more games. So, but I'm pretty pleased with the way the schedule looks. It's tougher than it's ever been. I think, we're definitely playing the most challenging non-conference schedule we've ever had. But, we return a lot of kids, and it's all about us being ready for Southland play. So we're going to be tested much more than we ever had in the non-conference, for sure.
Thank you very much, Coach. I appreciate it as always. You taking time to speak to me. Keep me informed when you do finalize the non-conference schedule, because I'm not curious to see who it is. So.
Yeah, sure, I will, for definitely. Yeah.
All right, Donna Finney, HBU women's basketball head coach. Coach, take care.
Thank you, Chris. You too.
Bye-bye.